Hi everyone.
G'day.
And welcome to Parkside. We are so thankful that you've joined us wherever you're joining us from.
Yeah.
And we hope that you've had a good Christmas. We know it can be hard for some, but we hope that you've maybe been able to experience some joy.
Yes.
And tonight, just done again with it tonight.
Okay, so what are you going to say?
Just as we, not tonight as we, or whatever, as we chat about transitions, we hope that you.
So for me, it feels a bit more fluid. Do the greet, because then you can go, g'day, we hope, welcome to Parkside Online. We hope you've had a great Christmas. Thank you for tuning in, and we hope that you experience Jesus in a new way as we explore transitions in faith. That's just how it makes sense to me.
Okay.
Want to go again?
Yeah,
Cool.
Probably won't be how you do it, but...
Yes, I have said several times, whatever feels comfortable, it's okay. It's
Okay.
all right. Ready?
Yep.
3, 2, 1, and
Hi everyone.
g'day.
Well, welcome to Parkside Online. We hope you have had a great Christmas, and we are so thankful that you have joined us.
Yes.
Yeah. We hope that as we chat about transitions and faith, that you encounter Jesus.
We definitely do. And I want to share a moment in my life where I've been moving in a particular career, actually moving in youth work for over 10 years. It was an area that I felt I had a lot of experience with diverse settings.
Yep.
And we'd run some training programs for other leaders, and then the employer that I was with just said, oh, we're going in a different direction, which was a little bit of a surprise. And I had to work out what was next.
Yeah.
And in that process of exploring and weighing up what direction am I going to go, I had some opportunities that would have allowed me to continue along that same line. And they looked pretty appealing. It was something that I felt I had some ability at, that I was pretty good at. And I would have been just able to slot right in. And I was familiar with a range of environments. And so I was weighing it up. And another thing that was quite appealing was I had family who were depending on me. And I was thinking, well, if I take this opportunity, it will enable me to provide for them. But as I weighed this up, I had an internal unrest about the opportunities that were in front of me. I didn't know what else to pursue. All I could recognize was this internal unrest. And I knew that I was leaving something behind. I did not know what I was going to. And because of these external circumstances, that wasn't really something that I had control over. It was almost as if someone had facilitated me saying goodbye, and I was trying to then work out what's next. It was tough. And I shared a little bit with you at the time, and we were trying to work it out. And for us as people of faith, we were praying and trying to work it out. And I still remember saying goodbye to those 10 plus years and still not knowing what was next. I wonder if you've ever found yourself in a transition like that, where you recognize that something has come to an end, that something different is coming. Now, you may have recognized that and made a clear move. A mate of mine's just after a few years in something different enlisted as a fireman, and so he's completed all the training. And when I heard about it, I was surprised because it was very different. Maybe something like that. It may be a relationship where you've been in a certain relationship, friendship, romantic, and then you feel like, actually, this is as far as we go. There's a lot of different ways that we feel we're in transition, perhaps even as deeply as how you're seeing yourself is starting to change, where you're identifying some behaviors, maybe even some character traits that you feel have run their course in your life, and you are saying goodbye and you're not yet sure what is new. That can be tough. Have you ever had a moment like that?
Lots of different ones. I think I just spoke about a work one previously, you know, where I felt that I needed to leave, but I didn't know what I was going to. And I think for some of us, maybe even health things can be that kind of transition. Like maybe you've got a diagnosis, but you don't know what's going to happen next. And, you know, we had a bit of that in the last 12 months when I was diagnosed with cancer. And it's like, what does that mean? How is it all going to be unfold? And there's a lot of waiting in all of that process as well. And so, there are those kind of things that I've had to walk through, and I think some of you may have as well.
Yeah, and so if you're watching this with some friends, maybe now's a good time to explore that conversation with each other. When have we ever moved through a transition? And I think the difficulty with transition is that something that I might consider a simple transition, you consider a complex and a challenging transition, and also something that I might consider complex and challenging and stressful.
Okay. What's
you
your
might,
problem?
Exactly. And so it's important, I think, to allow each person to express that. What we're going to do is we're going to interact with some scripture here, and I'll just read it out. I'm reading from the Gospel of Luke, chapter 2, and it says this: every year, Jesus' parents went to Jerusalem for the Passover festival. Now, if you're kind of new to this whole thing, the Passover festival is
time when they remembered when the angel of the Lord passed over houses in Egypt on the way to really the Israelites being freed from being slaves in Egypt.
Yeah, in the story of this particular group of people, this is a moment where they were in physical slavery, where the stories tell us that they were whipped, they were flogged, they were forced to manual labour. And then this Passover is part of the celebration that our God has let us out.
Yeah.
And so there is this transition already there in the tradition, for sure. And so Jesus and his parents have gone up to celebrate this. And he says, when he was 12 years old, they attended the festival as usual. After the celebration was over, they started home to Nazareth, but Jesus stayed behind in Jerusalem. His parents didn't miss him at first, which cracks me up a bit. I know. If you're a parent watching this, I don't know what the longest time is between your child going missing and you noticing.
Yeah, not very long.
Not very long.
Minutes, seconds, not
anything longer than that. I took two of my daughters to a pool today, and one of them, we were in the deep end. She went up to the shallow end. I knew she could stand. I'd seen her stand. There are a few people between me and her. And even as I'm playing with one of our daughters, I'm scanning the pool. Where is she? And so the idea here, this is a different time. This is a different culture. We'll find him by sunset.
Yes.
Probably some good things about that, and probably some not so good things as well. So he's at this festival. He stayed behind. His parents had missed him, and they assumed that he was among the other travellers. But when he didn't show up that evening, they started looking for him among their relatives and friends. And when they couldn't find him, they went back to Jerusalem to search for him there. 3 days later, they finally discovered in the temple Jesus sitting among the religious teachers, listening to them and asking questions. And all who heard him were amazed at his understanding and his answers. His parents didn't know what to think. Here he is. Now, you may have noticed the mention of this age here. How old was he?
12.
And the significance of that?
He's not quite a man in Jewish culture. 13 is when you kind of become a man, but he was not yet. And in another part it said the child or the boy. So it was just making sure that you knew that he was still a child.
Yeah. And so, while he's still a child, I also hear in that there's actually something of a personal transition because he knows he's about to become recognised as a man, as responsible for his actions. And so there's a transition there. And his parents, they're not quite sure what's going on either. They say, "Son, why have you done this to us? Your father and I have been frantic searching for you everywhere." And then Jesus says this, why did you need to search? Didn't you know that I must be in my Father's house? But they didn't understand. And then they all returned to Nazareth, and Jesus was obedient to them. And his mother stored all these things in her heart. Jesus grew in wisdom and in stature and in favour with God and all the people. And so we're talking about transition, and even though this is, a narrative that is thousands of years old, I think there is still some moments in here that matter to us. And perhaps it might be as simple as you're watching this at a time between Christmas and New Year's, and in our culture, that's a time where calendars tend to get a bit blurry, where we're not quite sure what we should be doing or where we should be. It's a time where a lot of the structure that is normally in our lives disappears. And so it's good opportunities, but it's also a little bit hazy. And maybe your transition is as simple as, what am I doing next year? I don't even want to think about that. But as we move through this, the scriptures are full of stories of people who move, of people who, in many cases, have a dream, experience hardship before that dream is realized. Transition is actually a part of following Jesus. Following Jesus is not a static thing. And it's very easy to fall into the trap of, I haven't changed in so many years. And I think if we're looking for a God that we can trust in, not changing is a good thing. If we look at the world that we live in, not changing actually shows that we're missing something. If I look at my life compared to my kids' life, there is a world of change that have gone on. I tell stories about having a phone in my house to my kids, something mounted on the wall with a cord that you could only walk, and they laugh when I tell them that story. They're like, what are you? Because this day and age we can do everything here. We live in a world full of change, and that comes to faith too. We want to develop a faith that is adaptable to change.
Well, even as you read that, I was just thinking, when we're talking about change, it says that Jesus grew, or he matured. And it's like there's movement there. Like even in our own lives, sometimes people like to say people don't change, but there's something wrong there. We are built to move and grow and mature, and we can do that with God.
Well, I think it's also a reminder that faith is not about a set of principles. It's not about a particular creed, but faith actually is in a person. And if I think back into my experience, when I stood on a beach and married my wife, I felt I knew her. I did not. Not in a bad way.
No, you knew me a bit.
But now, after we've been married for 18 years, the depth of our relationship has changed. The way that I respond to certain things that you do changes. The way that you respond, the way that we handle conflict. And I'd like to hope that we've developed. I'd like to hope that I've risen to the challenge. Because when you're in a relationship with a person, you develop and you grow. It would be very sad if, when one of my daughters turns 30, our relationship is the same as when she was 3. Because there is growth and development on her part and on my part. And when we talk about following Jesus, it says right here, Jesus grew. We want to embrace a relationship with Jesus that enables us to grow, to face the challenges of our lives. And we see this is a whole of life thing. There is growth in wisdom here. There is growth in stature. That means actually physical development, as well as a bit of recognition. And it goes on and it says favour with God and people. There's relational growth here too. When you're approaching a period of transition, maybe you're even experiencing a period of transition, hold on to the opportunity for growth. That the challenge, the uncertainty are there, but know that Jesus is leading you through. Jesus is leading you to growth. And when you pursue this, I just want to highlight a couple of things, because this process of growth here, Jesus walked a unique path.
Yes.
You know, when we come to the description of what's going on, he was sitting down at the equivalent of university. These were the most educated minds of the region, and this was actually not even a regional thing. This was a major capital, and the most educated minds on that capital. And he was a boy, not even the age of maturity, sitting down and asking questions and answering in a way that was amazing.
Yes.
Doesn't talk about other boys.
No.
You can go to other sources. They don't talk about other children who sat there. This was a singular path. And when you embrace the uncertainty, when you embrace this path of a growing faith, you will walk a unique path in your life. That may mean there will be moments when you feel that some of your friendships shift. That's difficult, but you have not done anything wrong. It is simply the fact that you have embraced this growing faith, and that is a unique pathway. And when you walk that unique pathway, we see a response here from his parents. Like, how would you describe their response?
Well, they were a bit annoyed. You know, they were worried, but they were also a bit annoyed. What are you doing? You know, you should have been doing something different.
Yeah. And I would add to that, they probably feel quite confused too. They're not quite sure
like,
what's going on.
Yeah.
And so when we're embracing this path of growth, accept that we're going to be misunderstood.
Yeah. Not everyone around you is going to understand why you're doing what you're doing, or why you've made the choices that you're making.
Yeah. And I think it's really important to just accept that some people won't understand that this is a different path, and that you are seeking to embrace a growing faith, a growing life even. And so as you walk that, it can be unique, it can be confronting, but there is growth at the end of it. And it's hard. Like you look at just before it describes Jesus' growth, it says Jesus was obedient. And so his different path was not walked as a path of antagonism.
No.
It wasn't walked as a path of rebellion. There was obedience. And I want to be wary, because we live in a time now where institutions, I think, have used the idea of loyalty and obedience to manipulate and to even exploit people. As we're walking this path of a growing faith, it may lead to shifts in relationship. It may lead to being misunderstood. And yet what we see here in the life of this boy is not antagonism. It's not hatred or bitterness. But he was actually able to find a way forward. Now, that doesn't mean that things will always be perfect and that relationships will always stand. But it does mean that we don't follow Jesus with an attitude of antagonism. We don't follow Jesus trying to stir up trouble. Because trust me, if we walk this path, we will have trouble enough as it is. And so just a couple of things that as we go through this transition time and we look at the life of Jesus, that can help us move through the changes in our lives. And as we've just explored this tonight, perhaps there's some things that have resonated with you. If you feel you are ready to embrace a growing faith, to actually grow through a time of transition in your life, I would invite you to make a declaration about that and to simply say, Jesus, I give you my life. And that may be this moment of transition. It may be transition into a growing faith. Jesus, I give you my life. And then we simply ask Jesus, give me your life. As we see here, this growing faith. this unique path. The challenge of being misunderstood. Jesus, give me your life. And if that's a decision that you're ready to make right now, let's pray together. Jesus, I give you my life. Give me your life. Jesus, I give you my life. Give me your life. And if you prayed, we would love to support you in whatever the next step in your journey of faith is. Drop us a message in the comments or on our social channels, and we'd love to support you. God bless you. Thanks for tuning in.
Bye.